Hi everyone, this is Jim Thompson with GreatVines, and this short 30-minute video is going to provide an overview of the Lightning user experience. For those of you that have been a customer of GreatVines for some time, you will be seeing a pretty big change when you log into GreatVines through the internet, through the browser, as opposed to your mobile phone. And the purpose of this video is to give you an orientation to some of those changes as you begin to meet with our team to discuss the timeframes. So this is a broad overview of Salesforce Lightning, and we're there to help you, so don't be worried. This is an exciting change for everybody. Before we jump into the system itself, I do want to point out that we have a Lightning FAQ, as well as some links to some trainings at greatvines.com/lightning. If you visit this page, you'll see this is just our regular website, but down at the bottom, after all these questions, you'll see 3 trailheads. These are part of the Salesforce Trailhead training. We recommend looking at those, just a way to sort of reinforce some of the basic concepts within Lightning. And also, of course, you can always visit our support portal at support.greatvines.com if you need any additional assistance. So without further ado, we'll jump right in. You should have also received some emails from our customer success team introducing you to Lightning. We've been sending a few out over the last couple of months. And let me sort of first frame for you the overall direction with Lightning. And that is that Lightning is meant to be the next generation user interface from Salesforce. It is primarily a browser-only interface, meaning when you're on your desktop, when you're on your laptop, when you're in Google Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer, if you're even using that, although it's not recommended. This is what you'll see when you log into GreatVines. And you know that when you're logging into GreatVines, you are logging into salesforce.com. So this is the Salesforce Lightning user experience that is running all of GreatVines. All of the applications that you've become used to in what is called Salesforce Classic, that's the current look and feel, you're used to them being in the upper right. When you click on your name, you'll able to come down and switch between things like your sales execution app or your sales rep app, and you can switch to trade marketing, or you can switch to your survey administrator app if you're building surveys. That's all actually moved to what's called the waffle menu. And but you also see here that you can always toggle back to switch to Salesforce right here. You can also control what they call the density of the page. So if you want things to be a little bit tighter on screen and you're comfortable with it, you can always choose the compact view. That's available here under display density. You'll also see that if you're logging in as different users to different environments, you probably are not. Of course, we at GreatVines do it frequently in order to help troubleshoot and that sort of thing, that you'll see multiple usernames listed here as well. So let's start on the left, moving to the right. We'll introduce you to the waffle menu. I love Belgian waffles, so I adore this little 9-button icon that you see here. You're also going to be seeing that as you become familiar with the new Serenity mobile application from GreatVines. It will use a waffle application or waffle menu for accessing all the major parts of the application. As you'll see here that we have these nice little cards that represent the different GreatVines applications. And as an end user, you can actually drag these around and reorder them any way that you would like. But these are the ways that you will get around to your different sets of tabs that you've become used to within Salesforce Classic, right? So if you need to toggle over and manage your surveys, you can do that just by clicking here. It's going to switch your application. Okay, so these are the applications, and you'll notice that it's not limited to GreatVines. Here are other applications that we've either installed from the Salesforce App Exchange, such as maybe this all-in-one app, which is related to calendaring, or this one, Calendar Anything, or perhaps you're using GeoPoint. You'll see those listed here. Pardon me. Or if you build an app from scratch, which as an administrator you can, you'll see them represented here as well as Lightning applications. You'll notice that beneath that in the waffle menu is the equivalent of the little plus sign that you're used to seeing inside of GreatVines on your tab set, where it shows you all of the different objects. So all of the objects and data that you have access to that are all parts of all these different applications are all available at the bottom of that, what they call the app launcher, which again, you access the app launcher by going to the waffle menu that shows up beneath the GreatVines logo. Also know that Perhaps you're looking for one specific piece of information. Maybe you want to look at the records in your survey bank. You can always search the app launcher, and it will take you right to the objects that you're looking for, such as the survey bank object. Or if you're looking to install other applications, you can visit the App Exchange. There's lots of free add-ons that will help you do everything, and as well as some paid applications and other ISV partners. So we'll close that waffle menu. We'll go back into the main app. So this is the general look and feel of GreatVines running in the Lightning experience. You have your tabs across the top. In the upper right, we have a new concept, what we call favorites. So you can actually favorite, much like you would bookmark something inside of Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer, you can actually favorite individual records. You see here that we've favorited a list of events or an event calendar. We've favorited a list of programs, a couple of accounts and contacts that we've favorited. This is pretty key because the new Serenity mobile application will leverage these favorites to allow users to personalize their mobile experience. So for example, the way I have it here, this would allow me to see lists of accounts, lists of invoices, lists of contacts, lists of objectives. So for each type of data that I have a favorite marked, we'll actually create a list inside of the Serenity mobile app. And of course, Serenity is not the topic of this video, but I certainly want to point out that a lot of the elements of the Lightning user experience are all part of the transition into our new next generation mobile application, Serenity. You also see that you've got sort of a quick create here, and this is depending on any actions that you have configured, such as a global logo call. This is the standard Salesforce logo call, so we generally don't recommend using it because it will behave differently than a traditional GreatVines logo call. But just so that you're familiar with what that sign is, they have links to help information here, as well as the traditional way of getting around into the setup. So as an administrator, you're used to managing users, resetting passwords, looking at email logs. So anything that an administrator will need to see, they can actually get to now here will be set up. It will open in a new tab. You'll also see that this is the place that you can edit different pages within Lightning. And so we'll talk about that in a minute. There's different components to the page layouts, so we'll go over that in a bit. So continuing across the tabs here, you have the Home tab. One thing that I want to really point out that is great about this new user interface is that it's extremely responsive, which is to say that it's very friendly to different size mobile devices. So as, for example, as we change our window here and we make it smaller, you'll see that that the window will generally, sorry if you're seeing black, will generally resize dynamically to fit whatever content we have. There we go, right? So that's what we call a responsive web application. That's one of the key components of Lightning as a user experience. Otherwise, it's very clean, very modern, using a whole new set of icons and fonts. And these pages can be customized. I'm sure that by the time you work with our team to convert your homepage to Lightning, you'll see a different array of things than you see here. But for example, we have lists of recent items. We have your chatter feed that you can post and like and comment from here. We have that list of objectives that we've had in our previous application for people that want to review their objectives. Or here we have this list of new tasks. You may or may not have these in your solution. But again, just good to point out that this is all part of the configurability of the Lightning experience. Of course, we have the embedded Good Data dashboard right here on the homepage that, just like usual, will allow you to flip through your different reports and dashboards. Some of our customers will call these top-line reports or KPI reports. So that is generally available in roughly 2/3 the width of your homepage. But as you'll see as we go into these other parts of the application, you can still have full screen dashboard tabs and reports available within GreatVines. The tab sets are going to be pretty familiar to you. You'll notice that there will be some visual changes as you go through and learn things like chatter and go through the homepage. You see things like Einstein recommendations. That's all part of the Salesforce artificial intelligence Einstein engine. And in this case, it's just telling me different people, users in my company that I might want to follow so that I receive their updates when I'm in chatter. There's a great example, posting a display of an end cap, or maybe we've got a photo from a menu that we want to post and we can ask questions or get some discussion going about that. Also, I want to introduce you to one of our brand new components that is rolling out with our migration to the Lightning experience, and that is our new drag and drop scheduler. We developed this because in Salesforce Classic, it had a way of viewing your accounts and dragging them into your calendar to schedule visits. And unfortunately, that doesn't exist in Salesforce Lightning. So we at GreatVines have developed this, and it allows you to look through lists of accounts on the left and say, I'm going to visit this account on this date, this time. I'm going to have run a promotional event, or I'm just going to do an account visit. We can type in a description. We can specify our start and end times. So maybe we're going to be there from 10 until noon. We'll click Save. So this is really nice, and it allows you to look at all of your different lists of accounts. So as you look here in the upper left, these are all of your list views that your users are seeing, and you've probably created a number of customized list views, right? So show me all accounts where I have goals, or show me accounts in a certain geography, or filtered, for example, by Indiana chain accounts. And so when you pull this up, it's going to automatically bring those accounts that match. You can also do some alphabetic filtering if you just want to see, for example, the accounts that start with G. So that's our Lightning drag and drop account scheduler that is available as you migrate into the Lightning experience for GreatVines. Great way to kind of plan out your week or even plan out your month. Moving over into the Accounts tab, this is going to represent a pretty consistent look and feel. There's a number of changes that have come about as you move to Lightning that we'll talk through. First of all, you're starting to see this new iconography, the icons that are used for accounts and contacts and objectives and surveys. You're also going to see that they'll be consistent with the Serenity mobile application, which is really nice. Your list views are still here, just like you had before. You can actually now keyword search your list views, right? Many of our customers probably have 100 or more different list views that you've created. And so that's a really great way just to very quickly go and see, all right, here's my list of key accounts that have not seen a visit in the last 30 days. Also, while I'm here, I want to point out this pin. You can actually pin that list view, so that way, every time you visit the Accounts tab, that's the first thing you're going to see. That is individualized. So as an administrator, just because you pin this for yourself does not mean other users will see that. Every user can select whichever list view that they would like pinned. So let's do this one, accounts with open objectives. You'll also see that this table of data at the bottom is responsive as well. So for example, let's pull in one that maybe has a number of different columns, on-premise key accounts. So you see here we've got a number of columns. We still can resize them if we would like. So maybe we're trying to see as many as we can get on one screen. And if you end up in this situation where all of a sudden you can't read the titles, just realize that over on the left of these list views, you can come in here. The very bottom one says reset column widths. Okay. Now while we're in that menu, let's also highlight a few things. If you want to create a new list view, you do it from here. If you want to copy this current list view, you would use the clone function. Or if you just want to rename on-premise key accounts to something else. If you're an admin, you know that you're able to share lists, either keep them private for only administrators to see, or you want to share lists to certain groups. You can do that under the sharing settings. But also, you'll remember that with list views in the old user interface, you would have to click Edit next to the list view, go to a separate page, and change all of your filters. Not only what you were filtering, but what you wanted to see on the screen. Those are now done in two different places, right? So first of all, you select the fields to display is also done right here. But if you want to edit the filters, you can do it with this filter icon. Okay, and there are lots of Salesforce Trailhead videos and tutorials that will talk about filters. I'm not going to go into great detail. You'll generally see that the logic works the same. We can create multiple filters. We can create filter logic that says 1 and 2 or 1 and 3, something like that. So it's just a cleaner look and feel, a little easier to use than the old way. Certainly more user-friendly if you're logging in on a browser from a tablet. Let's say you're on a Windows tablet or even an iPad Pro, and you just want to use the browser experience. This will be much friendlier for you. Okay, so we'll click Done. So those are the filters, right? We can add a new one here, pick whatever we want to see, okay? You can also even add a chart into a list view, which is quite interesting. This is not something that ever existed before, but if you wanted to define, for example, a certain criteria, maybe we want to create a list of accounts by the number of 9-liter cases that they've bought year to date, right? We could go in and you could define a chart view that would say accounts by volume, and you'd actually be able to show that right here. So in some ways, the list views are becoming closer and closer to what a standard report in Salesforce can be used for. Okay, so I'm going to remove that. You also have the ability to edit certain things, assuming that they're not formulas. Most of these fields are formulas, but let's say we wanted to update. If for some reason the name or the state was wrong, you can actually now update right from a list view, which you weren't able to do before. You would actually have to go into this account record and you'd have to make the change there. So that's certainly a new feature. There's also something called Kanban view, which I'm not going to get into here. We could potentially use that more for objectives. So maybe we'll show that when we go over to the objectives tab. The other thing is if there were changes that are made, you can, of course, refresh the list, right? Or you can edit the list values as well with the edit button. Now, just realize that if we do make a change and we click enter, none of that will save if we don't click the save button down here on the bottom, right? So there you go. So inline editing from an account list view or from any list view on any object that we expose within GreatVines. And again, also being able to search the records on the list is also something that's very powerful that we haven't had before, right? You'd probably just have to use the standard browser search and do it that way. So this is a really nice way to be able to kind of filter down your list views even further. Let's click into an account and I will orient you to this look and feel. So again, going to look very different than what you're used to within standard GreatVines. You see here that remember that we've got the density setting on compact. We can of course change this back if we want to comfy, which will refresh the page. It'll put a little more space around our fields. So if you feel like you want a little more room to breathe as you're working with the data, you can always switch between comfy and compact. So first we have the name of the account at the top as well as a link to the account hierarchy. So if you're looking at your chain structure and you want to understand the relationship of this account to other parent accounts, mostly HQs and accounts beneath those HQ, you can do that here with the view account hierarchy. And then these are the replacements for the account buttons. Notice that we've got log a call and we've got surveys and objectives and photos. So these are replacing the buttons that you're used to seeing near the top of your account pages. Also, we have these related list quick links, and these are really handy. Just a quick way to roll over and see, all right, who are the members of the sales team for this account? If you're a distributor, you may have multiple users calling on the same account on behalf of different divisions or maybe even different suppliers. This is a really nice quick way to get into any of these lists. It generally shows you about 10 records at a time, and each of these can be sorted right from here. So we don't even have to leave the account page. We can just roll over account calls or roll over objectives, for example, right? And we can still sort them and group them and that sort of thing, which is very nice. You'll also start to see the term files more often. Files are going to be pretty critical and central to both the Serenity mobile application as well as your use of Lightning. So we will be moving users and customers away from what have traditionally been listed as notes and attachments. Everything goes into files. And let me show you an example. If we go over to Hideout Lounge, this is one of our demo accounts. You'll see that we have 5 files here. So these are actually sell sheets that are part of content that we've attached to this account. But we can also have photos that we've taken when we're out in the market, right? And so those will show up as files, both content files, PDFs, spreadsheets, as well as images that we've taken in the account. That'll all be under your Files tab. But then you'll also see other components that you're probably pretty used to. So POS, surveys, all of your sales execution, brand activation type objects, whether you're tracking wine lists or tap handles, or even promotional events. One other thing I will point out is if you have more than 10, for one thing, you can see that it has 10 plus. All you have to do is click there on that header. It'll take you directly to a full list of that. You see here that we've moved one level down from the account down to this list of account calls. Okay. We can even click on Hideout Lounge to go back up to the account from here. So that is what we call the quick links for all of your related data that are tied to your accounts. Those are available there. Now let's also come down to this center section. You'll see that this area actually has tabs within it. So we have different page layouts embedded into different parts of the page. So for example, here's going to be all of my standard account fields. If I want to change the account segment, you notice I can just click within here. It's going to let me look at the current values for segment and subsegment. I can delete them out if I wanted to and say, oh, this is actually a liquor store, which we know it's not. So we'll go back in. We'll go back into beer bar, for example. Just very nice, clean look and feel. You'll also just see that once again, as you use the Serenity mobile application, this should feel very consistent between the phone and the tablet when you're using GreatVines mobile as it is when you're in the desktop. And that's a key piece of this migration into Lightning. But you'll also see that there are other tabs. We are going to be rebuilding the account photos, but for now, this is the same old one that you're used to seeing before. Scrolls off to the right with your photos. Sometime this year, we will have a new photo gallery for just the photos that are unique to this account. But for now, you can see that they're available here. We've also thrown this file tabs here where you can actually see little thumbnails of the images and click through into a PowerPoint or into an image, right? Also, your dashboard. As you recall, we would always drop a dashboard directly onto the account page. That's now available in this configuration as a tab on your page layout. Now, all this can be modified, and as part of your transition to Lightning, we will do our best to make sure we are as consistent with the configuration that you have today. This just happens to be our demo configuration. But you're starting to see how this page is built with these cards or tiles, right? For example, we have the chatter activity loaded into a section here, or maybe I just want to log a task for this account or schedule a calendar event, right? It looks very different than it used to, much more user-friendly, and that's available as part of the activity section or the chatter section on the account page. You'll also see that Salesforce Lightning has an immediate always-on deduplication checking. So if a user creates another Hideout Lounge, this will automatically detect that, and it'll allow you to merge it, which is not something that we've had historically. So that's another great feature of Lightning, is the built-in deduplicate. Okay, so that's the account page. I'm not going to get too deep into these other sections. What I want to point out is that as you click through objects such as accounts, contacts, objectives, and you look at the individual records, it should feel very consistent throughout the application. I mentioned the Kanban earlier, and I'll just highlight it here. So this is the Kanban view, which is a Japanese phrase. It was, I believe, invented by a car company, where users would drag their, you would actually drag these lists of things to do through the different stages horizontally. These happen to be sorted by type, but you can also create a Kanban view, for example, by stage if you wanted to. Okay, so that's available here. You can see your list views either as table or in Kanban card view, right? Very easy just to switch right back. You'll notice here that maybe I want to see more of the description. We'll go into this little gear, what they call the list view controls. We'll say reset column widths, right? So that's a good tip to keep in mind. You also see that the recently viewed list is actually pinned. I'm going to actually pull that down. I'm going to click all my open objectives, and I'm going to pin that. Okay. There are pages from within GreatVines, for example, if you're using Activity Recap, that have not been redesigned yet for the Lightning user experience. And so I will highlight two examples here. The Activity Summary Recap, you'll see that this has the old look and feel, but it still runs seamlessly within Lightning, right? Clicking on the Activity Recap tab, it should look exactly as what you're used to seeing in Salesforce Classic, whereas the photo browser is the opposite. We actually redesigned the photo browser to be much closer to Lightning before we've even upgraded our users to Lightning. This took place probably over 2 years ago now. So the photo browser itself has already been redesigned to be in the Lightning user interface, and we'll be making further changes to this in 2019 as well. Okay. Last but not least, your good data dashboards. They'll be able to be viewed directly within GreatVines from these tabs, such as scorecard. Ignore the fact that this opened in a new window. That's going to be visible here as well. Okay. What other tips and tricks? Let's see. You might be wondering, where did recent items go? We've actually configured recent items as part of what Salesforce will call the utility bar. So we have this white bar down at the bottom. And as administrator, you will have the ability to come in and customize this. In this case, we're looking at a survey plan, a survey. We've got an account call at Scott's Corner Bar. And you can determine how many recent items, as well as which fields, which objects you want to be able to display. You can even pop it open into a separate window if you would like, so that you can drag it around onto another screen. Very convenient. Another thing that you will notice that is probably hard to find is the recycle bin, right? Because users of Salesforce Classic are used to that left bar. And on that left bar, we've put everything from your logo or images of your products to little helpful links to your website or other resources. That's where the recent items has traditionally lived, as well as the recycle bin for anything that may have been accidentally deleted. Just know that although the recycle bin is not accessible today within Lightning, you actually still can get back to it by going back into Classic, right? So you're always one step away to switch back into Classic, open your left bar, and there it'll be at the very bottom. And should you be in Classic, know that you can always switch back to the Lightning experience just by clicking here. It's going to take you right back to where you were. Well, it actually won't. It'll take you to the home page of Lightning. It doesn't yet take you back to where you were, although we'd very much like that. So as we toggle through, let's switch over, for example, to the pricing and TPM application. You'll see that very little will change with the exception of your tab sets, right? We've got our budgets, our programs. If I want to go straight to a list of programs, let me just go to the Programs tab and go to All Active Programs, right? I can pin this, as you saw me do before. I can update things right from the screen if they're available. The example I just used here is a budget field. This is actually a formula. So you can't update a formula from this screen, but we could always go into one of these records and we could make a change inside of there. Okay. So that is your overview for Lightning. I hope this was useful. If you have any questions, please reach out to our team, support@greatvines.com, or visit our support portal, support.greatvines.com. We're very excited to get you both into the Lightning user experience as well as the new Serenity mobile app. There'll be a separate series of videos on Serenity as we roll out the Futurama update in spring of 2019. So thank you for your time. I hope you're as excited about Lightning as I have been for the past 2 years. And please reach out if you have any questions. Thanks.